This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast, proudly in association, as always, with Andy's Man Club. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk. This episode, as you can see, we are 66% British, 33% Irish, but as always, 100% Giants. Dan and Shane are unavailable due to work commitments, so I am back hosting and hopefully less jet-lagged than I was earlier this week. And as you can see, I am joined by Kev and by Aaron as we take a look forward at this weekend's Chargers game, which is going to be interesting on many levels, I believe. Lads, how are we doing?
Yeah, good. Rushed home from work, busy day yesterday and today. Here for a Friday night podcast. We don't do Friday night podcasts that often, but I'm glad to be on with you two tonight. And, we're going to get into it. But Dart is start. Do you know what I mean? We're going to get into it, but sort of exciting times. You think to yourself at 0-3, the clouds are grey and no one's happy. You can't get excited. It's another season, another losing season. But this time, we do have something to talk about and do have something to get excited about.
Yeah, new era for the Giants. I know that even though the previous era was 3 games old, right? So. But this was the one we were all waiting for. We knew at some point this season it was likely to happen. I think most of us thought it would prefer it if it was much later in the season. But given where we are and what we've seen, I don't think anybody's too upset. And like I said on Wednesday, with Andrew Thomas likely full go now, this is the time to put your franchise asset in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Thomas was on a snap count last week for some unknown reason, and maybe he was being held back. We never know. But yeah, he should hopefully be full go. And Jaxson Dart steps in for trial by fire, I guess. And sometimes I guess that's the best way to do it. So, there are some teams who have taken the sort of dump and go approach. Caleb Williams looked pretty good last week. He had a rough first season, so you can't always judge the players straight away. But then you've got players like Jordan Love who sit for a while, and when they come in, they obviously look like they belong because they've been kind of getting used to it and been indoctrinated into the sort of NFL culture before they get thrown in. Now, before we begin, obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, X or Facebook, please do get involved in the comments. Make sure you get your predictions in. Like the video, subscribe if you're not already, and hit the notification bell. Also, make sure all you audio listeners rate us on your podcast platform of choice. Aaron, how many stars? Just hold it up for me. There we go, 5 stars. Thank you very much. Before we get into the main topics, we'll start with some news. Obviously, the big news is that Jaxson Dart is set to start his first NFL game this weekend. However, Russell Wilson, the man he has replaced, has come out to quell reports that he could request a release or trade. Russ told reporters on Thursday, "No, I'm focused on helping this team win. I'm focused on helping Jackson. I'm focused on me getting ready to be the best version of me today on Wednesday. I want to be here. I love this organization. I love the process of it all. I love the guys in the locker room. I'm not giving up on this season. I don't know any other thought, any other thing than finding a way through." He followed that up with, "Sometimes you've got to climb under the wall. Sometimes you've got to fight through it. Sometimes there are battles and things you face in life or in sport, and I'm going to help lead the way in every way I can to make sure that we figure that out. The best thing we can do, though, is stay in great belief in faith of who we are. I think a few plays here and there, the season's a little bit different. I'm not discouraged about our football team. I'm not discouraged about myself, that's for sure." I think that shows the steel of a man who knows where he's at in his career, but also is somebody who is just willing to go all in for this team and teach a player. And I think that has elevated his standing in my own head of Russell Wilson, the man. And we knew that there were mixed reports coming out from previous teams where some people said, some people sip the Wilson Kool-Aid and some don't, and some see it as a bit of a distraction. But everything he said there, I think, was very professional and very teammate of him. Aaron, as much as the sort of Russell Wilson experiment failed in the terms of him being a starter, do you think we'll still get a return on the money that we outlined on him on his signing due to the tutoring of Dart and his presence in the locker room for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think so. So I think the key thing, and maybe there's an argument that this was the plan all along, right? So obviously when they signed Russ and Jameis, there was that they still were thinking we're probably going to sign a rookie or we're going to recruit a rookie, but just in case the two don't. It was obviously Russ was obviously on a 1-year deal, Jameis on a 2-year deal. I think there's an argument this was the plan on, but by naming Russ the starter, even after drafting Dart, what that immediately did was take the pressure off Dart all the way through training camp, all the way into the season. How many times has Russ been rolled out as the QB1, the leader of the team? He's got the captain badge, all that kind of thing. That alone has taken, 50% of the pressure, 80% of the pressure off Dart as the rookie QB in New York, all the media attention, all of this kind of stuff. And now, yes, he's going to experience all that, but it doesn't mean he hasn't been able to be rolled out into press conferences and take those kind of things. On top of that, he's seen Russ prepare for 3 real NFL games, 3 NFL weeks. We've seen Dart on the sideline preparing, practicing, all that kind of thing. But he's been able to do that out of the spotlight or to the side of the spotlight, and Russ has taken that on. So just those little things that maybe he was ready at the end of training camp for Dart to start, but just giving him some extra seasoning on top to kind of get through there. I think that's almost invaluable, right? It's not like we've put ourselves in a terrible cap position by putting Wilson's contract on our roster this year. We would have had a third QB. I think Tommy DeVito would have been still on the roster, and that third QB would have been, 3 or 4 million less. But what do we do with that 3 or 4 million? Is there really something that we would have done drastically different than that 3 or 4 million? I don't think so. So yeah, I don't think it's hurt us. I think we've also got a long-term plan at backup with Winston for into next year as well that I think works for us as well. I was happy with what we did in the off-season around the QB room. I'm still happy right now. Yes, it could have gone better, and we could be 2-0, 2-1, 3-0, 1-2, and we'd had a bit more play out of Russ that would have seen us over the line, but it hasn't all been Russell Wilson the reason we are in 0-3 right now. So I'm happy with where we are. I'm happy with what we've done. I'm not happy with the record or results, but the results, if you put from Joe Shane's point of view, he puts us in the position to make the results, and we could have they'd quite easily been 2-1 in this season, right? Not likely to have been 2-1, but we could have been 2-1. Bobby O doesn't let the ball be ripped out, and he takes it. And even if he takes it in for a touchdown, I know you said for him to cover it up. If he takes that in for a touchdown, we're leading at halftime. That's a different second half that we go into, and that game's completely different. Unluckily, he lets Patrick Mahomes, multi-time league MVP, rip the ball out of his hands. Right? Sometimes you got to credit a guy that is an MVP type player for making a damn play, right? And then obviously we went in behind at halftime. We gave up a field goal or whatever we shouldn't have given up, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think he's there, and if he's willing to pass on knowledge for the rest of the season, then great, But if there's an injury at a team that's playoff contending and they offer us a 5th round pick and Russ it can go, then I wouldn't be upset with that either. Right? I think he served his purpose for us now. He'll serve his purpose the next couple of weeks. And then if there's an opportunity for him to go and help another team out on a playoff run, then and we can cash in on a 5th rounder, I'd take that too.
Kev, what do you think about the tutoring side of things? Because by all intents and purposes, when Russ came in, those first few press conferences, he almost came across as like, well, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to be the quarterback of the New York Giants. Now that's kind of changed a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's changed massively. I still don't think he will necessarily be the tutor that, say Jameis Winston has been for Jaxson Dart. I definitely think, he Russell Wilson is an awesome teammate. He's doing everything he can for the team. I still think he will prepare the way he prepares to start games, like being he's been called the number 2. He's been called the backup, so he will do that. But like you said, Mayo hit a lot of really good points on the head there. Watching the way Russell Wilson prepares for games, all right, fair enough. He's not the Super Bowl winning quarterback he was when he was in Seattle. His plays dropped off a fair bit. You can only throw the moon ball so many times. But it's not just about that. It's about sort of like preparing notes for opposition, for preparing watching film, all stuff that he's done in college, obviously. But to see someone at Russell Wilson's level do that, I think is massive. I do think that it may be a little bit of a detriment to the team long term this season if Russell Wilson does stick around. I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of trade happen. If that doesn't happen, maybe a release in a few weeks. I don't know how the dynamic of the three of them will work now that Russell Wilson is number 2 and Jaxson Dart is number 1. I'm interested to see how that plays out. I don't think it'll be all perfect. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of movement there. I don't think he's going to ruffle any feathers. I don't think he's going to say anything out of place. I don't think he's going to give off a bad aura or juju in the locker rooms or anything like that. But I do think the dynamic will shift and will be a little bit different. But like you said, Mayo hit a lot of the points I wanted to make there, on the head with off season, leading up to the season, the first 3 games. But now it is Jaxson Dart's time to shine.
It is indeed. It is indeed. I think you're probably right, Kev. As the season goes on, there could just be that little bit of discontent that starts to creep in from Russ's side, and whether we do look at moving him. Obviously, the trade deadline is a funny thing as well. Like some teams just panic on the trade deadline, especially if there is an injury around that time. So you do never know what's going to happen at any given moment. Speaking of injuries, we've got the injury report from today. So Graham Gano, Chauncey Galston, Tyrone Tracy Jr. All did not practice and are out for the game. I think that was kind of obvious for Tracy with his dislocated shoulder and Gano with obviously the groin injury. Nacho, Joaquin Nunez Roches, is limited and doubtful, so I would expect him not to be available again. There are no other game designations for anyone else. Everyone else who was listed on the injury report were sort of full go, essentially. Collins, Bo Collins, that is, Art Green, Theo Johnson, Malik Neighbours, John Michael Schmitz, Darius Slayton, Andrew Thomas, all limited, but should be good to go. Aaron Stinney didn't practice today, but I think his wife has just given birth. I'm sure there's a Roy Keane meme gif in there somewhere about that. And Darius Musau, who's been under concussion protocol, is a full participation in the today in training, which is good because we are thin at that linebacker position, and I would much rather have Darius Musau in there than some of the people that we've had to sign onto the practice squad, just because of the fact that he's obviously played a lot more than they have more recently. If you look at the Chargers, they are going to be without Will Dissly, their tight end. He's got a knee problem. Mekhi Becton, who was in concussion protocol, he hasn't made it out of there. And Darius Davis, their wide receiver, who has a knee injury. Interesting with Mekhi Becton out with a concussion because their centre, Bradley Bozeman, is questionable with a back injury. So that's their interior side of things that's potentially going to be taking a little bit of a hit there. And then finally, it is the return of plane watch this weekend at MetLife Stadium, as it is rumoured there could be up to 3 protest planes in the sky at some point during the game. The banners are a continuation of the ones we saw in week 14 and 15 of last season. Before the Saints game, there was a banner that read, "Mr. Mara, enough, please fix this dumpster fire." And then a week later, before the Ravens game, and a plane that myself and Dan actually saw in the sky in the flesh outside of MetLife Stadium was, "Mr. Mara, enough, we won't stop until you fire everyone." There were also planes scheduled before the Week 17 game against the Colts, but inclement weather stopped those. There's been a lot of discourse online about the planes, whether it makes a difference, whether he really cares, whether you should really be spending that money elsewhere by not going to the games. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to take things on a little bit of a tangent just for a second. Kevin Aaron, I've just been informed that my nephew Theo is apparently watching, so he could be the next Giants fan in waiting. Do we have any words of encouragement for him?
So, yeah. So, you like Star Wars, right?
That's a good start.
So, Darth Vader has been likened to one of our players. Yeah. The before he became Darth Vader, you may know him as Anakin. That's another one of our players. And if you like droids, there's a guy here who is very similar to R2-D2, and you may have seen R2-D2 screaming coming out of a dorm. This guy screams coming out of the practice, "Woo!" every single time. And this guy is going to win angry runs multiple times. What is cooler than winning angry run scepters, right? So yeah, Cam Scatterboo may be the most exciting running back. I am seeing more and more comparisons for him to Mike Allstott up the gut, Scatterboo up the gut, maybe the new a new term that gets coined by commentators everywhere. So yeah, what more could you want? It's a new era. What it can't be as bad as the last era. The only way is up, right?
Kev, are you just going to say don't do it?
No. I actually think the Giants they're a storied franchise. They're one of the originals. They're a big team. New York is a great city, great market. It's a city that's close. It's only 5.5-6 hours on a flight. At the moment, we're not great, so there's a lot of 6 p.m. games for him to stay up and watch. He doesn't have to stay up to watch the late games. I mean, and it's the perfect time to start when you sort of have Malik Neighbors, Jaxson Dart, Cam Scatterboo, Tyron Tracy, Dale Johnson. Like, these are exciting young players that, with the right maturation, could do something in this league. The defense is exciting. Again, if the defensive coordinator allows them to let loose a little bit. And it's always good to say, when you have a bit of success, to say that I was there from the bottom when we weren't. I mean, first time I supported the New York Giants was in 2007. We were on to win the Super Bowl. So I thought this is what I should expect every year now. This type of contention. How she led me down a dark path, that mistress. But it's just, like definitely, I think like it's a perfect time to jump on the bandwagon. It's a bit of a rickety bandwagon, but it's definitely the best time to jump on it and see a sort of trajectory go up. And I mean, exciting new young quarterback to get behind and to get a jersey. Malik Neighbors, like I said, yeah, I mean, like for all those reasons, I think it's definitely an appealing team to jump on board with.
And if you're going to pick a franchise to get into, and Star Wars is the one, don't go for Indiana Jones, right? Don't go down that path. Don't go for Indianapolis. Go for New York Giants and Star Wars.
Don't forget, your Uncle Craig will buy you lots of gear. Will buy you lots of stuff.
I was going to say I'll have to buy him a T-shirt now. Right, let's get into the preview. This is these descriptions sounds like a teacher trying to get you excited about doing a book report. Yeah, maybe. Right, this is the 14th meeting between the two teams since the merger in 1970. The Chargers lead the series 8-5 and have won the last 5 meetings. The teams last faced off in 2021 at SoFi, with the Chargers winning 37-21. The Giants quarterback that day was the neck himself, Mike Glennon.
I was going to say, wind your neck in.
So far this season, the Chargers have a perfect record at 3-0, and all 3 wins have come against their AFC West divisional rivals in the Chiefs, Raiders, and Broncos. In fact, the Chargers are only the 3rd team ever to win against their divisional opponents in their first 3 games since the NFL realigned from 8 teams to 4. Justin Herbert currently has 860 yards so far this season, only behind Sam Darnold for the most in the league. However, Darnold played last night and is only 45 yards ahead, so look to him to continue that potentially this weekend. He has, however, been sacked 10 times. And coming up against the Giants, as I said, 2 of his interior linemen are dinged up. Mekhi Becton is now been ruled out. And in the concussion protocol, when centre Bradley Bozeman has that back injury, that's obviously does see him come in as questionable. Kev, it's going to be a new look offense this week. How do you see it going?
Yeah, the offense, like I sat down, was it yesterday, and started having a little bit of a think about, what do we need to see? What we don't know what this offense looks like, because the offense Bren Dable had for Russell Wilson, I think, would be very different to what he has for Jaxson Dart. I mean,
have we lost Kev?
Do you know what? I was trying to figure out if it was just Kev's expression, like he was thinking, but I do think we might have lost Kev.
He is a thoughtful fella, so it did take me a moment. He's not one to just go completely off the cuff and off the rails and down the train, down the path and everything else. So, yeah, I think just quickly on the offense, while I get my opportunity, and I'm going to do defense, which is not normally my specialty. I think where we get to now is a change in our offense. We're going to see the full Dable Kafka offense with a QB designed to run that system, and I think obviously a rookie quarterback is risky, and we've seen one rookie quarterback from the first round have a really good performance in an early start, and we've seen the opposite with the one, and the one that the one that had a bad first start is in a Hall of Fame, or is going to be in the Hall of Fame, is in the Giants Ring of Honor, and the other is on another team. So, so the first start isn't always everything, but I think what you'll see with Jaxson Dart is he has that aggressiveness that Russell Wilson has when things start to break down. So his tendency is to take a chance, to throw it downfield, to throw it into a 50-50 ball, and hope his receiver's going to do it. But when he does have the time, he will get through his progressions. He will check the ball down to the right guy. He will run the RPO game, and he does give a defense a headache, albeit a very good defense in the Chargers defense. So I think maybe we don't see the full playbook game one, but they have been working for a while. They've already had a Jaxson Dart package. We've seen a couple of plays from it. I don't think that's all they have ready to go in the system and this, that, and the other. So you will often see an offensive scheme, game plan, be tailored to what the quarterback likes. We've heard it before from Dable. We asked him what he likes, and that's what we put in the playbook. So for Daniel Jones, for Tommy DeVito, we've seen that kind of tailored. I would expect to see a shift from some of the turgid offense that we've seen the last few weeks into something a little bit more exciting. And that's because Russ doesn't see the middle of the field particularly well, being a short quarterback. You know, he's throughout his career gone missing in games. He's thrown big games and he's had big downfield games, this, that, and the other. But he's not been a guy that you would go, even in his heyday at the Seahawks, was a down the field pass thrower, all of these kind of things. So it's really, really challenging. And I think it's really exciting as well, because we're going to see that change in the process for us. And the questions that we still have unanswered is our offensive scheme shit? Should we get rid of all of our coaches? Is Jaxson Dart the one? We've got the time now over the next few games to see that. Don't expect to see everything this week. It's a very tough defense. What I want to see from Jaxson Dart on offense this week is just to we've seen him be tested in preseason by Dable throwing him in for one play. We've seen him tested by him turning off the communication and having to call the play on his own. Let's see him come through these tests that will be more extreme in real play, and see the progress. Like that's what we want to see from Jaxson Dart. And with Kev back in the room after his long ponderous thought, can I take it away, Kev?
Kev, you froze on the most perfect moment where we just assumed you were deep in thought.
Where did I get up to?
No idea.
What was the last thing I said?
Good question. Good question.
Right.
Maybe just start again. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So basically, look, what I wanted to start with saying was, don't overreact to this one game. You know, the Giants' future hinges on more than how Jaxson Dart plays in this game. You know, like Eli Manning in 2004. You know, he had a rough couple of games. Well, a rough full season there enough. He needed time. So just like, you know, I just will say that. I mean, and also I want to pull up what Daniel Jeremiah tweeted out yesterday. He goes, he just went back through all of Dart's preseason tape and my college notes. He is at his best when they play in space and with pace. Go fast, empty spread formation, clean up the picture. I'd expect that to be the plan against the Chargers. And that's 100% I agree with that. I'll get into a little bit more in a minute. But some of the things that we need to work on, right? Tight red zone issues. 10 yards and in. I saw something with Kurt Warner the other day, and there is 7 drives in 3 games, which was 8th in the NFL. So it showed that we were able to move the ball to a certain extent. We only scored once on those 7 drives, which is the worst in the NFL. You know, and he showed some of the clips and talked about it, and some of it was scheme, some of it was just really poor scheme, some of it was receivers just weren't getting open as well. So we need to change that. One of the big things is I'm going to mention your boy, Cam Scatterboo becomes running back number 1. We talked about Tyrone Tracy being out the shoulder, so he becomes the lead back. You know, he's got really strong chemistry with Dart all the way from the draft through rookie minicamp through all the preseason. Last week against the Chiefs, we talked about it. He had 10 carries for 60 yards, a touchdown, 6 catches, 61 yards for 7 missed tackles. You know, he's 8th rookie in franchise history with a 60-plus rush, 60-plus receiving yards in one game. He ranks 5th amongst NFL rookies total scrimmage yards. So he's someone that I think we do need to rely on. I mean, I don't say run heavy scheme. I don't want to see two and three tight ends, stuff like that. Talked about spreading them out. I want to spread out the Chargers, but also I want to utilize the running game with Scadaboo and Jaxson Dart. Now, but Scadaboo showed that he can be a dual threat. So not only I sort of slagged off Russell Wilson last week saying he was deep ball or check down, but don't be surprised, if we do need to check it down to Scadaboo, because he's shown he's got hands. He shows he can catch the ball in the backfield. And Singletary as well. I mean, at the moment, we've only got two running backs fit for Sunday's game. I mean, I expect Turbo to maybe be called up, but we will sort of see Singletary, because Scadaboo can't carry the load 100%. The way he runs, he won't be able to carry every single ball. So look for Singletary to come in with a bit of a change of pace option. He's got experience and versatility. Would love to be able to control the time of possession, and you do that by using the run game as well. That eases the pressure on Dart a little bit. And I want to see support Jaxson Dart. Limit the turnovers, play smart. This is a very, very tough defense. I want to see quick passes, focus on the short intermediate throws. Malik Neighbors, Wandale Robinson, you're going to get the ball this week. Malik only had 2 receptions last week. That's going to be more this week. We're going to not force feeding the ball, but he will definitely get his targets this week. And I want to see shots as well. I want to see, mix it up. I want to see a bit of play action. I want to see deep balls thrown down as well. You got to exploit the Chargers' weaknesses. I mean, on 4th down, the Chargers have allowed 71% conversion rate. It gives you the opportunity there to be a bit aggressive. And we know Dable likes to be a little bit aggressive when it comes to 4 down. One of the big things I'm really, really pleased about is Andrew Thomas. He played 28 snaps last week against the Chiefs for his season debut. 12 pass blocking reps, 0 pressure allowed. Giants rushed for 86 on 130, 86 to 130 yards when he was on the field. He came out of the game healthy. He's healthy. He's not on the injury report this week. So although last week he had 28 snaps, this week might be too optimistic to see him play the whole game, but I want to see 40 snaps. I want to see that increase to 40, 45. On average, a team gets about 60 to 70 snaps in a game on offense and defense. So I want to see him push that 40 mark, get up to 45, because you can imagine how good Jaxson Dart would be able to play, knowing that his blind side's protected for vast majority of the game. And this defense as well. I mean, Jesse Minter, he was at the Michigan with Harbaugh, and he is good. Don't be surprised if he starts to get interviewed for head coaching jobs next year, because his defense has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it's a 4th scoring defense, 16.7 points per game allowed, 8th in total yards allowed, 7th in defensive EPA per play. When you've got players like Derwin James on that defense, who's a 4-time Pro Bowler, he's the leader of the defense, he's versatile, he's dangerous in coverage. He can come down and he hits like a linebacker. He was AFC Defensive Player of the Week last week. Hart's been playing well. The defensive sort of end interior guy who just signed for them. They haven't got Khalil Mack. He hasn't really been himself though. But the Chargers, although they have been an elite defensive so far, and they do pose a major test for us this week, especially a rookie quarterback in Dart. They disguise their looks. They're very good at showing one type of coverage pre-snap and then changing it post-snap. You might show cover 2, then go to cover 3, all to try and trick a quarterback. But I think, the best chance the Giants have got is go to your playmakers, go to your Malik Neighbors, try Slayton with the deep ball, get the run game going, control time of possession, run the ball effectively, keep things simple for Dart. Don't be surprised to see no huddle offense. Go back to what he knows, what he's good at. No huddle, up tempo, take advantage of their weakness. I was listening to one of the podcasts the other day, and they were saying that they get bigger, they can get beat deep if they start cheating covering in the box, because the run defense is good, but if you spread them out, you can run on them and take advantage over the top. I think the last thing I'll say is the big key things. And it's going to sound a little bit like coach speak, so I apologize, but it's execution. It's discipline. The big plays will come if you do those things correctly, and please, for the love of God, let's stay competitive. Let's keep the competitive spirit up, and start let's see a bit of no huddle, up tempo. That first drive, as soon as Dart gets the ball, have a whole drive planned out for him. Do you know what I mean? Like have you've got the play cards, but have a drive planned out of what you kind of want to do, and go out and execute. Execution. Be disciplined. Take the big plays when they're there. Use your legs only when you have to. But Dart's very good at climbing up into the pocket and going up through the middle and getting those yards. Whereas some players like Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones especially, they'd bail out of the back of the pocket and give up sacks for lots and lots of yards, and that puts you behind the 8 ball. So those are just a couple of things that I sort of like want us to take advantage of. I mean, they do have, like I said, they have good players. Henley at the linebacker as well is a very good linebacker. But I want to see the run game utilized, but not in jumbo formations. I want them spread out. A lot of 11 personnel, one running back, one tight end. Use those angry runs of Scadaboo. Play action, whether it be like normal play action or fancy play action tosses that Jaxson Dart likes to do. And I want to see him sling the ball around with confidence. Don't be too overconfident. Take what the defense gives you. But those are some of the key things I think we need to do on offense to go out and give a good showing of ourselves. And you never know, maybe take a scalp.
One of the points that you made about Neighbours, and obviously Russell Wilson was looking at him as very much a deep threat. And the one thing that I think we missed with Russ under centre that I'm hoping we can kind of bring itself back to when we've got Dart there is, can we just hit the man on a slant and let him go, please? Can we just try and get the ball to Neighbours in the intermediate and then just let him do his thing? Because we've been too focused the first 3 weeks in trying to get like 60-yard bombs to Malik Neighbours, which he can do because he can pretty much do it all. But he's fast and he's athletic and he's shifty and elusive. Like, just give him 4 yards and see if he does 15.
Some of those plays, where you get a natural pick, you get natural rub routes where you get the ball into his hands within 10 yards and a natural rub will create space for him and he'll go. Like, I know I don't want to harp on back to it, but kind of a la Beckham, but the type of balls he used to take, not to the house necessarily, but he used to take them for a lot of yardage. I'd love to see those type of plays this week.
And I think that's where that some of the limitations of Wandale being a slot-only guy and obviously being a good receiver. We've seen him take a bit more of a downfield trend, obviously lots of deeper yardage this season, but you're not playing him on the outside, which stops you putting Neighbours in the slot. And because we don't have a good fourth receiver, or there's a drop-off between the three and then the next receiver, you're not going to be taking Wandale off the field or putting Neighbours in the slot for the fourth guy. So that's where we saw Odell take a lot of those slants and take them for explosive gains, because it was coming out of the slot and you would get a linebacker or the nickel and he has a two-way go, and it's just unfair. When you're on the outside, you'll see that the cornerbacks will set them up to go outside or inside, and that kind of limits some of the route tree and the options, and especially if you've got cover 2 over the top to kind of help that out. So some of the the difficult decision that we're going to have as a team around Wandale at the end of the season is what his value is to us as a slot receiver, because look, he's advanced his game more this season with the play calling with Russ and everything else, and perhaps done the deep field breakout that we thought we might get from Hyatt. Do you remember that guy? It's come through Wandale. So, but what do we do with him in terms of extension? How much do we value him? He is limiting what we can do with Neighbours, and if we were to able to have a high draft pick and take another stud wide receiver in the draft this year, that would then allow us to put Neighbours in the slot at times when we're running 3, or mixed, or at least share that out between the load. It's really, really interesting. But I think that's why we don't see Neighbours too much in the slot, because Wandale's almost too good to keep him off the field, but also limited in being a slot only guy.
I was trying to think then of the 2 receivers that Beckham would have had, and I'm thinking, was it Cruz and Ruben Randall who would have been the 2 receivers back then? which both handy receivers on the outside that we could obviously do that. Any last points on the offense before we move? Aaron, you're picking up defense.
Just the last thing is like the cornerbacks, is like Tariq Still and Dante Jackson are starting cornerbacks, and they're starting level cornerbacks in the league. I think this defense is very much predicated on the defensive coordinator's scheme, not so much the personnel. So I think like they'd be taking. I'd stay away from Derwin James because he's an absolute monster, right? Maybe Wandell won't get so much of the ball this time, but I definitely looked to get Slayton a bit more involved in the game as well. But I think Neighbors could absolutely cook this week, and I'm very excited to see the packages that come out, the type of plays, what type of offense is going to run on a Jaxson Dart, because I do believe it'll be very different to what we've witnessed the last 3 weeks.
Indeed. Right, Aaron, your defensive debut. Take it away.
Yeah. So, but talking about our defense still means you need to cover offense on the other side, right? So it's not too indifferent to what I know. I think the pressure is really on our defense in this game, and that's because we're going against the top defense on the other side of the ball. And that even holding your opponents to 14 points, there's a chance you don't win the game. And that puts a lot of pressure on a defense. To top it off, we talked about Herbert effectively leading in the leads in passing per game, second in the behind Darnold at the moment in the total passing yards, and the way he's done that is quietly the Chargers might have the best trio of wide receivers in the league right now. As Keenan Allen, who seems to have come back to LA and like he never left, right? Shaking the years off. Sophomore Lad McConkey, who was in there. Of the three, of Neighbors, BTJ, and Lad McConkey, all of them were highly drafted in fantasy this year as sophomore wide receivers. And perhaps the biggest surprise is the third-year Quentin Johnson coming out and actually living up to the first-round pick that he had a few years ago, and actually leads this group with 239 yards. So, as a trio, maybe none of those guys you would have above Malik. Maybe none of those guys you have as Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. But as a trio, that is the best trio in the league, and the PFF grades back it up. The yardage, everything else backs it up. So that then puts a lot of stress on our much maligned secondary. We've spent a lot of money on the secondary. To say that we've been disappointed is probably being kind on our secondary. Whether that's the individual players not playing up to it or the scheme from Shane Bowen that we're all fed up with, and there's some debate around whether it's scheme, whether it's execution, whether it's players. I think it's scheme. I know there's a lot of talk about how we're not playing soft zone, but it's the time we choose to play it. And like you said, if we want to run that up tempo offense where Dart is most comfortable, one thing you can't do on defense is have long drives, then hand it over to your offense with a risk that they're going to go up tempo and 3 and out, and you're back on the field again as a defense. And the time of possession gets so out of control at that point that your defense are absolutely gassed. And then your offense has to change the way it wants to play to just give the defense a rest. I'm not talking about quarterback sneaks in your own goal line and shadow of your own goalposts, but you do have to change your scheme. So we're going to have to step up our game against the passer. Maybe one of the routes is creating some turnovers. And if you think back to the playoffs and last season, Justin Herbert had an absolute meltdown in the wildcard game against the Houston Texans where he threw 4 interceptions. So this is a guy who's got it in his locker that, you know, in the highest, in the when the lights were the brightest, they even had the lead in the game before they absolutely fell apart through Justin Herbert's play. So we haven't seen the turnovers really live up to. We talked about Bobby O's fumble that wasn't recovered and all of this kind of stuff. So we need to have that turnover battle come in our favor. A defensive score would do wonders against a defense that is gonna try and limit our offense. So if we can get 7 points on defense, that 14 points that you could give up and still lose is now 21 points, right? And that's now into the ballpark where actually we're in a better place. So I think that's one of the things that we need to do. So in focusing on the pass game, we need to be careful about the run game as well. So our defense, we need to play complementary football, as I've just said, for Jaxson Dart to have a successful, keep that playbook open. The next challenge is stopping the run. And we've had that issue in previous games. And while we have our own rookie to get excited, you thought I was going to do a piece without talking about Cam Scatterboo. So I thought, I've got to sneak our own rookie into the discussion. The Chargers have their own rookie in Omarion Hampton. He's had a little bit of a difficult start. He's only averaged 3.4 yards to carry. He's had one run of 15 yards. And if our defense can keep that below, not let him have another 15-yard run, that would be quite a good result for our defense. But he'll be expecting to have a big game this week. And we still have this question at linebacker. It's our thinnest position on the roster. It looks like Darius Musow is gonna get the start alongside Bobby O. But last week, what we saw was Abdul Carter spend 78% of his snaps at linebacker rather than at edge where we want to see him. In the previous 2 weeks, he only had 12% at linebacker and largely blitzed out of the linebacker slot. We do have to get our best 11 guys on the field. So I'm not opposed to him playing 30 or 40% of his snaps at linebacker if that means we've got our best guy on the field. But yeah, we need to kind of, and maybe that 12% is too low at linebacker, because if he's lined up at linebacker, you're just going to be assuming, well, he's going to be blitzing, right? So maybe there's a little bit of actually, if he's more closer to 30 or 40% at linebacker, it looks a little bit more exciting or a little bit more challenging for a quarterback to read what's going on and the lineman to work out who's blitzing. We did see from the Chiefs game them call out where Carter was on a number of pass protections and were deliberately moving their pass protections to make sure they accounted for Abdul Carter. So it's really, really challenging. What will happen with Swayze Bowman? Maybe with Darius Musow, he won't be so much of a factor. He definitely was a special teams guy last week. He played about 12 snaps on defense and was largely a special teams fill-in for that kind of backup. So maybe we won't see, but maybe it's more of him getting into the system and learning the defense, and maybe we'll see a bit more of him as the third linebacker that needs some in rotation. We all want to see 51 rushing from the D line, though. We know that if we can get sacks on Justin Herbert, that is one of the ways to counteract and to help the secondary in both the coverage time that they need to give, but also maybe wayward balls that are there to be picked off and win that turnover battle. So that's one of the things I'm looking at. One of the problems of trying to defend the run is we don't want to be overcommitting against the run. So what we've seen from Justin Herbert this season is on play action, his passing grade is 88.5 versus 72.7 on all the other snaps. So he's got nearly half of his passing yards on play action plays, and they're about 25% of what they've run in terms of passing plays on the offense. So they've had some really explosive plays on play action. And if we overcommit to the stopping the run, that's where we might see where we get really burnt on. And, that's where it starts to get dangerous on those third and mid, second and mid yardage downs. And that's going to be really, really vital. One of the things that we're going to have to do is get pressure on him through that D line. And with Mekhi Becton out and the center is questionable, do we see our first appearance of Dexter Lawrence this season being an absolute game wrecker? Because when we were at our best last season, which was very few and far between, but we did get a lovely win in Seattle. Do you remember that one, Kev? That's when Dex absolutely can take over a game and wreck a game, and that's what we've been missing in the first 3 games. We've not had a complete performance from all 3 phases of the ball, and then have the guy take us over the edge with that game-changing play. We haven't had that game-changing play that really does put a game to bed or really change that momentum. Bobby O had the opportunity to do it before halftime. We didn't do it. We had the opportunity to do it at the end of the Dallas game. We didn't do it. Maybe the Commanders game, we didn't have the opportunity to do a game-changing play. It was kind of forced to us with the way our O-line played. But that's really where we're going to have to step up. There is no number of points that we can hold the Chargers to and be sure of getting a victory, because their defense is top 5 defense in the league at the moment. They've ran through the AFC West, which everybody has as kind of one of the toughest divisions in football. I think multiple people predict the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Chiefs all being playoffs caliber teams. Maybe not as good as the Ravens and the Bills in the AFC, but they're all expected to be in the hunt. And Chargers have ran through all 3 of them. So, it's going to be, and largely through the play of their defense and decent enough play on offense to take it there. So we're going to need a game-changing play from someone. Maybe it's 97 this week, and maybe that's a bold prediction. That's
a great segue into what I've just been looking up and reading, and the fact that Andre Patterson has come out and said he wants to play Dex at nose tackle where he is the best in the business. But because of his dominance, teams are trying to get him to move across the line, so he can't do that. In previous years, his usage at nose tackle has been 68% in 2022, 72% in 2023, 60% in 2024, 47% so far this year is where Dex is lining up at nose tackle, 34% in the B gap, and 18% over an offensive tackle. So it just goes to show that 97 needs to find a way to stay in his natural position, which is the nose tackle, and see if he can hurt teams. Kev, anything you want to add before we move on to predictions? Just obviously wary of the time.
Yeah, just very quickly. I mean, Justin Herbert scares me. The offense scares me in the sense that with our defense, we don't want to go out against the run because we don't want to get passed over our head, but then we don't want to. I have a really bad feeling that we'll play for the pass too much, and they'll just pick up 5-6 yards on the ground, nice and easy, like most teams have done in the past. This team coveted Herbert coming out of college, went for Daniel Jones because he went back to college. Herbert throws a beautiful deep ball. We just cannot get beat deep, but we need to contain the run. Like you said about his play action, it's so difficult against a quarterback like this, but he's proven in the past he can't get flustered. And want to just, again, 100% reiterate what you said about someone needs to make a play. We need a pick 6. We need a fumble recovery for a touchdown, a strip sack fumble recovery for a touchdown. We need something to give a bit of spark in this defense and make this defense believe that it can play. And it is a good defense. we just sort of been meandering, just sort of like trying to go through the motions. I want to see a bit of excitement. I want to turn up the heat a bit. So yeah, so like you said, that Aaron, we definitely someone needs to come out and make a play. Like we've got an interception, was it last week, week before, and we come in with no points. Now that's criminal. We need to turn these turnovers into points.
Yeah, I think the phrase styles makes fights, right? So you can't always do football maths where you go team A beat team B. So like the Chiefs got beat by the Chargers, so the Chargers are definitely going to beat the Giants, right? It doesn't quite work like that because it all depends where the team's strength is and the team's weakness is. Now, the one Achilles heel that they have on offense at the moment is their O-line. And our strongest position on defense is our D-line. And maybe it doesn't matter how good Justin Herbert and the receivers win against our secondary if our defensive line just lands that first punch and takes over that game, and that might be the thing to look for on the early drives is how much is our D-line winning and getting them off the field. If we're 14-0 down after their first two drives, we'll know that the answer. If we get them for a couple of 3-and-outs or a single first down on their first two drives, there's a chance. There is a chance in this game.
Let's see if Shane Bowen can actually scheme up something exciting. Right, let's move on to predictions. As you can see so far, Kev is 1 of 3. Aaron, you are 0 of 3. I am 1 of 3. And Dan and Shane, who obviously have no faith at all, are 3 and 3 on the seasonal predictions. Predictions are coming up now, so if you are watching along with us, please do get those predictions in the comments so I can bring them up at the end. So, Kev, as always, you are up first in your predictions here. Did you just have to look it up just to confirm what it was? I always forget, so it's it's nothing against you.
No, as so this week, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Of course I am. I think Jaxson Dart will excel. Well, he'll come out and not be like a big, like he's not going to go out and throw for like 500 yards or anything stupid like that. But I think this offense will be effective and we can move the ball up and down the field. And I think we will hold their offense just enough to sneak out a win at 31-27 Giants.
He's gone for it. For it.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid as well, Kev. Right? And
come on.
And now I was a listener this time last year, and in week 4, I was most disappointed that all of you predicted a Giants loss against Seattle. But it worked because we won the game. So I thought I would use reverse psychology. So even though I think we're going to win, when we all predict a Giants defeat, we're going to win. So I went for Giants 17, Chargers 24.
Solid rationale there. Didn't work for me last week.
So
I predicted a win last week, so I messed it up last week for us all.
I think I predicted a win last week as well. Right, I've got the last 3 because it's myself, Dan, and Shane. So I am the sort of middle filling, I guess, here. I do think we will finally score more points, and outside of that Cowboys game, obviously, which is the anomaly so far. But I do think the Chargers will be just too much. So I've gone for a 27-23 win to the Chargers. Dan has also gone for a Chargers win. He's gone for a little bit more of a comprehensive win, though, with a 30-17 win for the Chargers. Kev already knows he's lone wolfing with Shane up last because there is not even the slightest glimmer that Shane's gonna, rock the apple cart and go for a Giants win here, is he?
Oh,
Shane does think it's going to be close, though. He has gone for a 23-20 win for the Chargers, so a little bit more respectable. He's actually predicted the Chargers' lowest scoring output out of all of us there. and not the lowest scoring output for the Giants. So that is obviously how Shane sees it. We've got a few predictions in the comments. Dan put 3-0, but I mean the way that is towards the Chiefs, so that would have been a Chiefs win anyway. Kiefer said, sadly, I can't see us winning 34-20 Chargers. Took Eli a good few games to get it going. Dart is likely to be the same. Steve Wilkins has put 31-21 to the Chargers, and Darren has put 27-21 Chargers. If we lose, I want to see a fighting loss. And there you go. There is the lone wolf for Kev. And Pedro, our friend from Brazil, thank you, Pedro, for tuning in. We saw your comment come up earlier, has gone for 34-20 for the Chargers as well. We're coming up against a team who are arguably one of the best teams in the AFC right now. I'd actually argue that they are the best team in the AFC from what we've seen. There's been a few teams that have started off slow. Obviously, their main rivals are probably the Bills, I would say, to that mantle, but they have looked good.
The one thing that we haven't discussed, and there was a little bit of the trend being bucked last season, but teams from the West playing in the early window, there's historically a kind of bet against them, certainly against the spread against them, and actually, how are these West Coast teams doing these early windows? There is sometimes an upset. So let's not discount that. Although last season, I think it was week 3, all 3 West Coast teams that travelled east in the early window all got wins. So it doesn't always come up good for the East Coast.
And obviously, remember the big thing that there could be a debut on Sunday as well at kicker for Younghoe Koo. So there is always that. We don't know who the kicker is yet. I don't think that's been announced. I don't think we'll find out until probably tomorrow when we see the practice squad call-ups. I did see a tweet from Chris from Giant Insider who said expect a lot of roster movement tomorrow. They're going to be players going on IR, players signed up to the main roster, and probably even some practice squad signings as well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting story. Whoever gets the elevation at kicker. If it's Jude McAtamey, it's obviously the Irish international player pathway guy getting the opportunity, which obviously we will be the biggest supporters of. But Koo obviously moved from South Korea to Ridgewood, New Jersey during middle school, so he's kind of a backyard, guy that grew up in the area. So I'm sure it will be special for him and his family if he does get the nod for Giants as well. So either way, there's a little bit of a story, although we probably have a little bit of bias on this podcast, right?
And it would be totally just written in the stars with the Dublin game coming up this weekend as well for Jude to do it. But there we go. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have this week. However, we'll be back next Tuesday or Wednesday. We're still ironing out those plans to review the game, and hopefully, please, can we just have something positive to talk about? I'd love to do a player of the game. Even if we lost, I'd like to do a player of the game if possible. Anything to add before we go?
No, just great to get on with you guys tonight. Glad we could get on. It's a new era starting. Let's all get behind it. It'd be really cool. I'm looking forward to watching the game, hopefully in a bar in Dublin after the Croke Park game. And I want something to cheer about. I'll be wearing my Giants jersey. I want to whip and holler like the best of them, with us actually showing some productivity on offense and shutting people out in defense. So, yeah, I'm hoping for a good game, and let's go get W, lads.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping for a positive plane and a positive message, right? That would be a nice way to start Sunday. But new era. Let's just enjoy it. I'm gonna have my my new Dart jersey on this this weekend, and hopefully it's a lucky one.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the old trusty Burns off the wall here and wear that. It's going to be the first time I'm wearing a jersey for a game this season, so hopefully that's a little good luck charm for us all. And yeah, enjoy Dublin, Kev, since you are going this weekend. Obviously, big historic game over there with the Steelers and the Vikings playing at Croke Park. So obviously my colleagues from the Irish NFL show are covering the game and are all there at the moment. So yeah, enjoy that. As always, remember to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube. You can hit the bell to be notified of when we go live. If you aren't already, follow us at the socials at the bottom, and please do rate us on your podcast platform of choice. 5 stars. Thank you very much. My thanks, as ever, go to Kev and to Aaron for joining me. All of you watching or listening, getting involved in the comments. We love you all. And as always, let's go Giants.